One day, she vaped and like ran to the bathroom and just like threw up all over the floor.
Vaping has had a meteoric rise in Australia around the same time that many of us are stressed out of our fucking minds. We have a housing crisis, a cost of living crisis, a climate crisis, we're burnt out, there's also a rental crisis, and there was COVID. So I guess you can say there's been a bit in the mix. And all of this has happened all the while vapes have surged in popularity. So are vapes actually helping with our existential anxiety or making it worse? And how have they had such an almighty rise so quickly amongst young Aussies? We're going to find out in episode 2 of Vape Nation. No one sets out to become addicted to vaping. Often you're just handed it at a party and then all of a sudden you're thinking about it all the time, and they're also kind of inescapable.
Literally walking into this building this morning, there was like 3 people who walked past me with vapes. At house parties, they're everywhere. Everyone's sharing them, passing them around, encouraging other people to give it a try. And so it's definitely difficult to escape.
Annabelle has grown up with smoking-related illnesses in her family, so she was never really tempted to pick it up. But her girlfriend, on the other hand, is addicted to vaping.
At one point, she was buying several a week, and the amount that she was vaping was just crazy. And for a long time, she kind of denied that it had any impact on her. I remember one particular instance, we'd come back from a party, we'd all had something to drink, we were having like a great night, and her vape ran out. And it was probably about 1 in the morning, and no one in the apartment had a vape. She was begging all of us to find one. She was on her knees at one point.
This is when Annabelle's girlfriend felt like her addiction was getting out of hand, and she's been trying to quit, but she's finding it really hard.
All of the people around her are still vaping, and when there's vapes just constantly on hand in your house, at all the events you go to, it's so hard for her to say no. People kind of gradually grow their addiction over a long period of time without really realizing until it gets to something quite serious, like what happened with my girlfriend.
So how do you even become addicted to vapes? Well, when you vape, you have these receptors in your brain that light up. This is because nicotine releases dopamine, which makes you feel really good. Nicotine is the primary addictive chemical in vapes, but it doesn't last in your body very long. So once it's left your system, your brain, it's searching for that feeling of being lit up again by dopamine and craves the nicotine that's in your vape.
You have a suck on that vape, it almost feels like, things are as they should be. And it can feel like vaping and nicotine is helping you with your, say, anxiety or you're feeling anxious, right? And it's almost the opposite. It's that to feel normal, you need nicotine in your body. And we know that one of the key sort of immediate health impacts of vaping is that it increases mental health issues like anxiety and depression.
Research from the Generation Vape report found that feeling anxious or stressed was the second most common reason why most young people are using vapes. And it makes sense. Feeling stressed about your latest rent increase, hit your vape. But using a vape to help with stress or mental health, I am really sorry to say, is probably making it much, much worse. Research has found a link between increased nicotine use and depression, which means the more nicotine you consume, the higher your risk of depression. And it can actually make your symptoms of depression and anxiety way more acute from using nicotine.
I think a lot of people they've never been addicted to anything before, and they're using vapes quite socially, on a Friday night or a Saturday night. They don't buy their own, they're just getting them from a friend that's passed around the pub or something like this. But the next morning they might feel agitated or like something's missing, or that they can't stop thinking about vaping. Those would be signs to me that you are facing addiction. And we have seen that sort of, those 2 paths come out of people saying, well, I would never be, an addicted vapor. I vape safely and responsibly, and people who, vape all the time or vape alone, I wouldn't go there. So having that judgment. And for me, it's not about people being, jerks or being nasty or whatever. It's not understanding how addiction works. We all have the same origin story with vaping. We all probably got given one at a party or by a friend. And some people quite quickly go down the path of addiction. Others get lucky and avoid it. And others just take a little bit longer and will join their friends on the addicted path.
Whatever path you're on with vaping, it might not feel like you're addicted or that vaping is even that bad. We've all seen those TikToks of people hospitalized because of vaping. And it can feel like, oh, that'll never be me. But there are lots of side effects that you might not even consider that can happen. Like with Annabelle's friend, who after 8 months of vaping, suddenly got nicotine poisoning, also known as Nixic.
One day, she vaped and like ran to the bathroom and just like threw up all over the floor. And we were like, oh my God, like what's happened? Are you okay? And she was like, I don't know what it was. And then, you know, it started happening more often. She walked out of one of the elevators at our university campus and just like projectile vomited out of the elevator, like all over the floor. And, you know, she suddenly kind of started to realize that it was vaping.
So how do we get here? How are all of these vapes all of a sudden everywhere, making us throw up in elevators? Well, the answer lies in the power of the tobacco industry.
The vaping industry and the tobacco industry are so connected. In fact, they're the very same. And so we've seen in Australia a real push, a real lobbying effort by front groups who are funded by the tobacco industry to relax Australia's vaping laws rather than strengthen them. So you have Responsible Vaping Australia, which is funded by British American Tobacco, that would like to see nicotine vapes being freely sold everywhere that they can. And of course they want to do that because they have the supply chain, the retailers already set up. British American Tobacco has sales agreements with all of our national grocery chains, all of our national convenience stores. They could get their products into Australia being sold everywhere, rather than, you know, all these illicit products that are currently being sold. British American Tobacco wants a piece of that, and they want to dominate the entire market.
If you're under the age of 25 in Australia, you've probably never been exposed to tobacco industry marketing. You've probably only really seen plain packet cigarettes. You know that they're really expensive and it is not okay to eat in a restaurant filled with cigarette smoke. This is the success of tobacco control. But recently, kind of out of nowhere, vapes started to take off.
And now, just right around the same time as COVID started, restrictions started to relax, we see this uptick in vaping absolutely become socially acceptable and normalized seemingly overnight amongst young people. And when we talk to people in our focus groups and ask them, you know, clearly you're very anti-smoking, like those beliefs are really embedded in. What about vaping? And they say, you know, the product doesn't smell like a cigarette. It doesn't taste like a cigarette. It's really available. It's cheap. The government hasn't done anything about it. My friends are all doing it. I hear it's quote unquote 95% safer than smoking. So you combine all these things around intense tobacco industry, vaping industry marketing, highly attractive products that smell lovely and enticing flavors like juicy fruit, and then lax regulations. It was like a perfect storm for young people. And then add in an incredibly addictive substance like nicotine. I mean, if you're a company looking to make millions of dollars, you actually couldn't come up with a better product.
Australia's vaping laws have struggled to fight the rise of vapes. There's been loopholes where stores won't disclose that a vape contains nicotine to be able to sell it, or manufacturers will change the vape to be new in line with whatever regulations come in. The recent regulation that was brought in this year has already seen hundreds of thousands of vapes seized across the country. But research from the Generation Vape report has found that even though the awareness of harm when it comes to vapes has increased, the rate of vaping hasn't dropped in line with this awareness.
It's so easy once you've started to fall into a pattern. Everyone thinks that they're just going to try vaping one time and never again. Oh, they're never going to buy one. It's just socially. But I've seen so many of my friends go down that pipeline of just every now and then full-on addiction.
If you are addicted and you want to know how to quit for good, we'll be talking all things quitting on episode 3 of Vape Nation.
Yeah, I remember I think I went like a week and then I ended up having like a serious mental breakdown.
4 in 10 of them were saying I feel addicted. 6 in 10 were actually wanting to quit already.